We just wrapped up September in our homeschool, and I'm ready to tell you all about how everything went. Hi everyone, welcome to our homeschool table. My name is Jerilyn. I am a mom of 3 kids, ages 10, 3, and 1. This is our 6th year homeschooling. My 10-year-old daughter is in 5th grade this year, and my preschool son is doing very light preschool. And in very light, I mean he basically just plays at the table with us, and we work on a couple of things each day. I'll get a little bit more into that in a bit, but that is kind of what we're doing. I also have a 1-year-old daughter who just toddles around and takes things out of all of the places that we keep things, and so we're constantly running around cleaning up her messes. But I just wanted to jump on and give you a little update on how each of the curriculums are going that we're using this year, and I will link our 5th grade curriculum choices down below in case you want to go through and see kind of everything that my daughter is doing. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about are our weekly checklist for my daughter and the schedule that I had made for the beginning of the school year. And it is sort of going like this, but we've been trying a few different things, so stick with me. So originally in my homeschool schedule, I had said that I was going to do breakfast and then Bible and enrichment at the kind of all right together at the very beginning of the day. Then morning chart and chores, and then my daughter's independent work. So what we found by doing it that way was that my daughter wasn't starting on her independent work until much later than we had really wanted. So she actually is kind of a morning person as long as someone wakes her up or she uses an alarm. I don't prefer her to use an alarm clock because then it wakes the little kids up. All of our bedrooms are really close together, and if they heard that, they would wake up instantly, just like she would. So basically what we've been doing is I get up by 7:30 and I go in and wake her up before I start getting ready. So my goal is to be up, dressed, ready, showered, all of that by 8:30 so that we can start the things that we do together around 8:30 or 9. So by waking her up at 7:30, she is able to get up and get dressed, and then she starts right in on her independent subjects. So let's talk about those first. And that has been going really well. So while I get ready for the day, she's doing her independent subjects, and then we're able to get done in the day a lot earlier. So that has been going really well because really what she wanted was to be able to have more time to play with her siblings when they're awake. So I'm going to just go through her checklist to kind of go through what things she does by herself first thing in the morning and kind of how that's going. So we are using the lesson book this year for her copywork, dictation, and narration, and this is going really well. I just make these little copywork papers for her, and this gives her her assignments for 2 weeks, and then she just uses her lesson book to do her writing. So this is going really well. Next, on Monday and Wednesday, she reads a section of her nature reader. So she just reads a few pages and then answers the discussion questions later on with me when we are at the table together. During that same time on Tuesday and Thursday, she works on a typing lesson from The Good and the Beautiful, Typing 1, and that is going really well. She's able to get the computer out, open the document that she's working on, type the lesson that's in the book, and then she saves it and puts it away. So she's pretty independent with that. Once we start back to school in a week or so, my plan is to kind of watch her do one of her lessons to make sure that she's using her fingers on home row and using the correct fingers to type each lesson. So this is going really well, and we're liking that. Next is Fix It Grammar, and we just finished week 17, and this is kind of the week where it starts to be a lot of review of things that she's already worked on. We actually started Fix It Grammar last year, and we did the first 10 weeks before summer started. So she was already 10 weeks into this when we started this school year. So she has done 11 through 17, and she still really likes it. And it is getting a little bit harder, but the rest of the program, pretty much from week 17 to 30, has almost all review weeks. So they review a different concept that they've learned up to this point. There are a couple more new weeks, I think, but mostly it's just review. So I am really glad about that because it's definitely getting challenging. Next, she works on reading 5 from Christian Light Education. The way that this works is that one day she'll read a story in the Open Windows Reader and do the light unit pages that go along with it. And then the next day, it'll be about that same story, and she does a few more light unit pages for that lesson. So this is going really well. She has been doing really well on the quizzes and tests, and we are halfway through the second light unit already. This is going to last us 20 weeks of our school year. The next thing that she works on is math. And so first she starts out with a warm-up. So 2 days a week, Monday and Wednesday, I have her scheduled to do some flashcards. These are the flashcards from Memoria Press. And so she just goes through a small stack, maybe 15 to 20 or so, and she practices her multiplication flashcards. And then on the opposite days, Tuesday and Thursday, on Tuesday she works on her Kumon multiplication book. And on Thursdays she works on her Kumon division book. So she just gets a little bit of extra multiplication and division practice, and then moves on to her math lesson. So for her math lesson, we are doing epsilon. And we didn't actually start this from the very first week of school. So she just finished the 4th lesson. There are 30 total. And I actually started something a little bit different this year that I haven't done before, and I'm kind of liking it. Basically what we did is we did the first 3 lessons, and we did that Monday through Friday because we usually do 4 actual lessons and then the test on Friday. But I keep the extra papers from that lesson because there are 7 total for each lesson in Math UC. So basically we did lessons 1, 2, and 3. So the first week, second week, and third week. And then on the next week, we did a review week. So I took some of the extra papers from lessons 1, 2, and 3, and she just worked on those review pages for Math UC. Then this last week that we just finished, she did lesson 4, but we did not get all the way through that lesson. So the week that we come back to school, because next week we're going to be off, the week that we come back to school, we will finish up lesson 4 and take the test, and then we will start lesson 5. So I'm really liking kind of incorporating a little bit more review intermittently instead of reviewing once it's like really overwhelming and super hard. So I think that's going to go a little better for us this year, but I will continue to keep you posted on that. Hi, editing Jerilyn here for just a minute. I forgot to mention that multiple times this school year, my daughter has mentioned that she is really enjoying fractions. And so I'm really glad that she is feeling so confident and enjoying the math assignments, probably a little bit more than the last couple of years with multiplication and division. So I'm really glad about that. So that kind of wraps up the independent work that she does before we kind of start our regular part of our school day. So basically, like I said, she gets up at 7:30. She works on all of those things that I just talked about. She checks them off on her checklist. And then once the little kids wake up, she gets her morning chart and chores done. So that's just getting ready for the day, picking up her room, making her bed, getting herself dressed, her teeth brushed, all of that stuff. And then she does her chores, which usually take 20 to 30 minutes depending on the day. So the next part of our day, we come to the dining room table, and the little kids are also with us, usually eating breakfast or a snack or something like that. And we do our Sunlight History Bible Literature. Now, we just start out with the Bible time at the beginning of the day usually. So we are reading a couple of books. This one, Starting Strong, is a really great devotional, and we are really liking the discussion questions. One day a week we read a chapter out of Case for a Creator, and that is also going really well. This is a little bit more of a scientific feel, and I've really been enjoying the discussion that goes along with just kind of thinking through how the universe was created and just all of those kind of bigger, deeper questions of how the world came to be. So this is a really good book so far. We're also working on her memorization, and if you've seen some of my other videos, this is not something that comes with our Sunlight program, but it is scheduled as just memory work that you're supposed to be reciting different scripture passages. So I made these little memorization pages and put them all together in a little book so that she can just pull it out and read that week's scripture passage. After we do Bible time is when we also do our enrichment studies. And so that would be hymn study on Monday and Thursday. And right now in September, we were working on Amazing Grace. We use the Happy Hymnody suggestions for our hymn study. So I just print out the pages that go along with the Happy Hymnody freebies off of their website. So this is the Amazing Grace page. I do like to use the Happy Hymnody videos that go along with that. And then once we get more familiar with the song, we will look up other YouTube channels that have also created that same hymn. The only thing is that most of the time, the other people that create hymns don't necessarily use all of the verses. So that is one thing that I really like about Happy Hymnody is that they do all of the verses from those songs. But that is going really well. My 3-year-old son, that is probably the thing that he asks for the most is he wants to do hymn, especially one particular song that they put out a few months ago called What Wondrous Love Is This, and they pat the table to keep the beat, and that is his favorite one, and he always requests to do that song, so that's pretty cute. The next enrichment thing that we do is picture study, which right now we're studying Tintoretto. And if you can see back here on the line, I have the picture that we did this last week. And so that's going pretty well. We also have been studying Beethoven, and these music study with the master's books are really good. They do seem a little bit geared more towards older kids, and they come with the CDs, which I really like. So we have been putting these into our DVD player to play on the sound bar, so it's a little bit louder. But the biography that goes with it is very extensive. So instead, I picked up a book from the library that is a little bit more younger, kid-friendly, and it still talks about his life and things like that, but it's not as much in a living book form. But it has some pictures and things like that. So we've been studying Beethoven with this book and listening to the music. Instead of our regular Bible time on Fridays, my daughter is going through a book called A Girl's Guide to Making Really Good Choices by Elizabeth George. I will put a picture up here because I can't find her book. I think it must be in her room with her, and I'm not in there. But it's Friday, so it makes sense that it's gone right now. Anyway, she is really liking that. I have been just letting her go through that book on her own because it does have space in there to write answers to questions they ask and things like that. And I finally just decided that that can be more personal to her, and it's written to the child. So I just decided that she can do that on her own and go through that book on her own. But she said that she likes it so far. So after we do our Bible and enrichment time at the table, since she's already done usually with all of her independent work, what we have been doing is just going right into either history or science. And we kind of switch back and forth depending on the day and how much there is to do. And also, honestly, whether or not the little 1-year-old is awake or not. if she's taking a morning nap, then we try to kind of get as much as we can in while she's napping, because that just always goes better. I will go ahead and show you the history things that we've been doing recently. So in our Sunlight History Bible Literature program, we do a couple of chapters in the landmark history of the American people. And I've been learning a lot from this book. It has some really great pictures and just lots of great information. I would say that the program kind of speeds through history a little bit, and that's fine. Sometimes the chapters can feel a little bit long. Sometimes I'll break it up into 2 different sessions, like read a little bit and then take a break and then read a little bit more. So for the most part, we're liking this. The next book that we've been reading in frequently is the American History Visual Encyclopedia from Smithsonian. And this has been really great, especially because it has such great pictures and little vocabulary sections, and it just has a lot of great visuals. Obviously, that's in the name of it. So my daughter has been really liking this, and sometimes we'll kind of alternate where I read a couple paragraphs and then she'll take the book and she'll read a couple paragraphs. So that kind of helps me with just being able to save my voice a bit. But we really like this book. So as another part of history, we have a music download called Songs About America. And we try to listen to those songs a few times per week, usually not all 5 days, but probably 2 to 3 times we will listen to whatever song that goes along with the history for that week. And that kind of wraps up our history period. Then we usually do science. So we switched kind of right at the beginning of the school year to Zoology 2 from Apologia, and we are really, really liking this. So I bought the audiobook from Apologia. These I actually picked up at Rainbow Resource, but I purchased their audiobook on their website. So I just go on my phone to their website, log in, and listen to the audio from there. I am really liking the suggested schedule that comes in the notebooking journal. If you can see a little bit here, I have written some extra boxes because some of the activities that are in here aren't scheduled, except for just saying pages 47 to 64. Well, that's a lot of pages to do on one day at the very end. So I've kind of broken that up and just scheduled them in myself. So this is going really well. And we are actually splitting, instead of this taking 2 days, we are using 3 days to complete 1 week's worth instead of just 2. And that's going just fine. So on the 4th day, instead of doing science, she does Health, Safety, and Manners 3 from Abeka. And I just created her a little schedule that's in here, and she reads the pages and will tell me later about what she read. So that's kind of how we're doing health. My daughter has been reading the poetry books on her own. The How to Eat a Poem is scheduled in the Sunlight Guide for 2 days a week, but she just usually reads both poems on Tuesday. And then she reads her poetry, just 1 poem a day, Monday through Thursday. So she is right now studying Rudyard Kipling, and she honestly doesn't really have a lot to say about poetry. She doesn't mind reading it, but it's also not her favorite thing. So she is just kind of indifferent about it, really. I just thought it would be a fun extra for her. So after we have done Bible, history, and science, then we kind of take a break for a little bit. And usually that is kind of when I get lunch ready and the kids go out and play and things like that. While it's lunchtime, I have been trying to do a couple different read alouds. So one of them is the Burgess Seashore book for children, and we're just a few chapters into this, but this is about a little meadow mouse named Danny, and he winds up finding himself at the seashore. And so he is from a meadow, and he doesn't know any of the creatures that now he is finding on the seashore. So we are learning about different creatures that live at the seashore through the lens of Danny Meadow Mouse. And it's just a really fun book. And every time we read a chapter, my daughter always asks to read another one, but I always wait and do another one in a few days. so that it keeps her interest. But we've really liked that book. And then we are also reading Portraits of Integrity, and this book is part of our character curriculum from Character Concepts. The program that we're using this year is called Kids of Character. And so once a week or so, I read the story that goes with the character trait that we're working on. So these can get a little bit long, in my opinion. So I will read maybe the first half one day, and then a couple days later, I'll read the second half. But we've been liking these. And these are usually a historical figure or somebody that somebody in history that showed that character trait. So we really like it so far. So as far as read alouds go, we were working on 2 different read alouds this month. The first one was Adoniram Judson from the Christian Heroes Then and Now series. And this was really, really good. This book was actually from level D. And if you've been following for a while, you know that we did Bookshark level D for history instead of Sunlight. Long story, but we really still wanted to read this book. So we finished this a couple weeks ago, and my daughter really liked that book. The other book that we read was Across 5 Aprils, and I found this book on audio through our Library Libby app. So my daughter actually listens to this book on audio, but it does come as part of the Sunlight program. So now let's talk about the readers that my daughter has been reading. So the first book that she started out reading in September was Freedom Train, the story of Harriet Tubman. And she thought that this was a really good book, and I think got a pretty good feel for what it would have been like to live during times of slavery. The book that she is currently about to finish is Turn Homeward, Hannah Lee, and she has liked this book and has been able to do pretty well at narrating the storyline and kind of what's going on. This book is set in Civil War times. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what my preschool son is doing. I'd mentioned in my last update in August that it was a big adjustment to restart school for my daughter, but not as much for my daughter as for my little kids who were used to having her as a playmate for most of the summer. We did a little bit of school here and there, and we did a little bit of read alouds, but not a full school day. So the first few weeks of restarting school was kind of hard for them. And so now that we've kind of settled into a little bit more of a routine and we've gotten those routines down a little bit better, he has kind of settled in a little bit more and now is actually enjoying being at the table with us and getting out some of the special activities that he gets to do during school time. So some of the things he likes to do are Play-Doh and coloring. Those are the 2 things that he asks for the most. He also has math manipulatives that he likes to play with, and he often will play with the Matthew C. manipulatives that we have that my daughter uses. So if she has those things out, he will definitely want to participate too. He also recently asked to play with the kinetic sand, which is sometimes a huge mess for a 3-year-old. So I've only let him get it out once so far, but we just need some practice with that. But as far as curriculum goes, we haven't really done any of the things that we are planning to do yet. One thing that I did this last week is I read the first Bible story in the Bible Stories to Read book. This is from Rod and Staff. And I also have the coloring book that goes along with this, but the first story in here doesn't actually have a coloring page yet. So my plan is that on either Monday or Tuesday, probably Tuesday, because Monday I have quite a bit to do as far as teaching with my daughter. I need to teach her fix-it grammar and math. So we will probably pick this up on Tuesdays. He already listens to the Bible stories that we are doing with my daughter. So I'm not worried that he's not getting enough Bible. But I did want him to have a Bible story that's more at his level. So that's why I picked up this book. So I'm probably going to do that book on Tuesdays. I also have the Preschool Math at Home book, and I haven't specifically taught him any lessons out of it yet, but that is something that in my break week, when I'm kind of doing some lesson planning and things like that, I do want to kind of look through the first couple of lessons and see what I can schedule to work with him on during our school day. So we just started Awana a couple of weeks ago, and he has really enjoyed that so far. At first, I didn't think that he was going to want to go because on the first night, they didn't have a full Awana night with games and all of that. So we got him to go back last week, so like a week and a half ago now. And he was so excited. He came running in saying, "Mommy, look, I got my Awana vest." And he got his Cubby's book. And so he was really excited about that. And so we have worked on his verses for the last 2 weeks. We do those most days. We recite the verses. And his favorite way to practice them, of course, is to yell them really loud. So I figure that's fine at home, but I did tell him, when you go to Cubby's, you can't yell at your teacher with your verses. You need to just talk to her in a normal voice. And they didn't say that he was doing any yelling, so hopefully he was doing just fine with reciting the verse in a normal voice. But that's how we practice it at home, and whatever gets the job done, right? So yeah, he is kind of just tagging along with us on our homeschool day, and we do get most everything finished before lunch, which has been really nice because at the beginning, in the first couple of weeks, it was drudging on until 1, 2 o'clock. So now that I have been getting my daughter up earlier in the day, that has been really helping. And she actually works faster in the morning when she gets up earlier like that. So that has been a huge bonus for us. Well, if you are still watching, then go ahead and leave me a heart emoji down in the comments because you are still here and you got through all of that long update. If you have any questions or anything that you want to share about these things that I talked about, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. And if you have any suggestions for anything, I'm always open to suggestions. So definitely let me know those. If you enjoy update videos or talking about homeschool curriculum, please don't forget to subscribe down below and give this video a like. Also, I am going to be doing some more update videos, probably on a monthly basis, as well as I'm going to be a little bit more intentional about making some sunlight reviews along the way. I was thinking I could do maybe every 6 weeks or so, doing a sunlight update. So you might see one in the next couple of weeks about how the first 6 weeks went. But there isn't a whole lot of information on YouTube about the upper levels of sunlight. So I do want to make some specific videos for that since they're kind of hard to find. I hope you guys are all having a great start to your homeschool year, and definitely let me know how it's going for you down in the comments. But I hope you guys are all having a great beginning of fall as well, and enjoying some pumpkin spice lattes or whatever thing you enjoy in the fall. Thank you so much for hanging out with me at our homeschool table today, and we'll see you next time.